much working part-time, waiting tables, left a small town, never turned back. I was a flight risk with a fear of falling, wondering why we bother with love if it never lasts. I say, can you believe it? As we're lying on the couch, the moment I could see it, yes, yes, I can see it now. Do you remember we were sitting there by the water? You put your arm around me for the first time. You made a rebel of a careless man's careful daughter. You are the best thing that's ever been mine. Flash forward and we're taking on the world together. There's a drawer of my things at your place. You learned my secrets and we figured out why I'm guarded. You say we'll never make our parents' mistake. We got bills to pay and we got nothing figured out. When it was hard to take, yes, yes, this is what I thought about. Do you remember we were sitting there by the water? You put your arm around me for the first time. You made a rebel of a careless man's careful daughter. You are the best thing that's ever been mine. Do you remember all the city lights on the water? You saw me start to believe for the first time. You made a rebel of a careless man's careful daughter. You are the best thing that's ever been mine. Whoa. And I remember that fight, 2:30 a.m. 'cause everything was slipping right out of our hands. I went out crying and you followed me out into the street. Brace myself for the goodbye, 'cause it's all I ever known. And you took me by surprise. You said you'd never leave you alone. You said, I remember how we felt sitting by the water. And every time I look at you, it's like the first time I fell in love with a careless man's careful daughter. She is the best thing that's ever been mine. Make it last, hold on and never turn back. You made a rebel of a careless man's careful daughter. You are the best thing that's ever been mine. Do you believe it? We're gonna make it now. And I can see it, yeah, yeah. And I can see it now, see it now, see it now.
Well, well, well. Let's talk about the type 6s. Before we dive in, please remember to thumbs up this video, leave a comment, subscribe, and hit that bell notification. It really helps and means so much to me, and I would love for you to stick around and watch the rest of this series. So please go ahead and do that, and let's get into the video. So before we totally dive in, let's do a brief overview of the type 6. They are called the loyalist, and their basic fear is being without support or guidance. Therefore, their basic desire is to have security and support. So 6s are often known as like the anxious type on the Enneagram, not to say that every type can't be anxious because literally any human can be anxious and often is. But the 6s are hyper vigilant of threats. And so they're always kind of looking out for things that could go wrong, could threaten them, threaten their friends. And because of that, they're really kind of on edge, right? If you're just like always watching everything that can go wrong, that can cause a little bit of anxiety. 6s also are super, super loyal friends. I mean, they are called the loyalist, and this is for good reason, because they really desire that support and that security. They're not going to let people go because they are building a support system of friends, family, acquaintances, whoever they will let in. And once they have that support system, they don't want to let it go. So they're going to stick with you for life, sometimes to their own detriment, but that's a different story. They're great friends and they're loyal. So let's get right into it. Why did I choose the song Mine for the Type 6? Well, let me just start by saying there are so many Taylor Swift songs that can relate to the Type 6. Taylor Swift does love songs. She does songs about connecting with people, being with people, reminiscing about people, and that's all very 6-ish. Just like the Type 2 could relate a lot to Taylor Swift, so can the Type 6. I chose this song because there were more little details within the lyrics that I could relate back to the 6. So let's get into what those things are. The first line that I want to talk about is in the first verse of the song. Taylor says, "I was a flight risk with a fear of falling, wondering why we bother with love if it never lasts." 6s have a fear of abandonment, right? They want support and guidance. Therefore, the opposite of that is being without support and guidance. And so they do have this fear of abandonment, that people are going to leave them. And so this line that, why do we bother with love if it doesn't last? I feel like that is very, very 6-ish. It's this idea that like, you know what, I kind of give up because everybody who I ever loved leaves me, and I can't trust that I have people's loyalty and support. And that's a big quality of this 6 is this untrustworthiness. Not that they're untrustworthy, it's that they don't trust other people with their heart, with their deep emotional world and all of that. So 6s actually tend to do this kind of testing of others to see if they really care about them or not. Almost something like they might just cut you off and stop texting you back just to see if you'll be the one to reach out to them. So little tests like that 6s can get to, and that's because they have this fear of falling. As the lyric says, it's fear of falling in love, right? Because they are afraid that you're not going to stick around. Okay, the next line I want to talk about, this one is pretty self-explanatory just based on what I've already told you about the 6, but it's the line in the chorus that she said, "You've made a rebel of a careless man's careful daughter." And I love this line for the Type 6 because it says a lot, and I don't want to go too deep just in this video just for the sake of time, but 6's need for security and guidance often comes from not having that as a child. Now, that's not always the case, but there is a correlation. And so I love this line saying like, careless father created a careful daughter, just very Type 6. And 6s again are known for being very careful, very cautious, right? If they are people who are always kind of thinking things can go wrong and they know exactly how and why things will go wrong, they're going to do everything to avoid that happening. So they're very careful. They're very cautious. And especially if you grow up with a careless father, you have seen the disasters happen and you are even more hypervigilant and trying to avoid that ever happening again. Another line of this song that I think really relates to the 6, and it's on a similar note as all these other lines. So kudos to Taylor Swift for keeping this song consistent. It says, "You learned my secrets and you figured out why I'm guarded." The 6 is guarded. And once you learn more about them, you see why they're guarded. So let's talk about why a 6 might be guarded. Again, they have this fear of not being able to trust others and that people are going to betray them or let them down or just overall not be the support that they need. And as sixes go through life and they have experiences where this is proven true, they just become more and more guarded because they want to protect themselves. That is really a big thing for the six, right? If they want security and safety, they are trying their best to give that to themselves when they can. So it's this protective layer of, can I trust you? Can I really let you in? Or are you just going to fail me and therefore crumble all of the security that I feel I have? So of course someone is going to feel guarded if they have a fear of being let down. So though sixes are super loyal and great friends, it does take a while to get into their inner circle, to get into their good graces, because again, they're going to test your loyalty until you finally pass the test and make it in. Then they will let you in, take down those walls, take down those guards. Okay, one more line I want to call out, and this line really just ties back to the first one I talked about where she says, I have a fear of falling, why do I bother with love if it doesn't last? Anyway, this next line comes towards the end of the song, and she says, I brace myself for the goodbye because that's all I've ever known. And this is something I would totally hear a six saying because their fear is of that abandonment and not having security. They're hyper aware of when that does happen to them. So they can be a bit cynical when it comes to love and even just friendship, because if even just one person wrongs them or betrays them, that's going to stick with them forever, and that's just going to feed into their fear. Okay, that's all for this one. I know I only really touched on a certain aspect of the six, but if you want to learn more about the six, I just want to remind you that there's so many resources online. I will link some of them in the description below, but just Google type 6 Enneagram and you will find everything you need to know. Oh, I forgot to talk about my outfit for type 6. So I am wearing a black turtleneck and my little, what are these called? Are they called shackets? No, that's wrong. So the reason I chose this outfit for a 6 is because it does two things. It makes me look very put together, but it is also super, super comfy cozy. I think these are two different aspects of the 6 that are very important. Is they are always prepared. They are planners. They are ready for anything. So because of that, they can appear very put together. But something else that the 6 wants is to be comfortable and supported and all that. And I think just having some comfy and cozy clothes touches on that aspect, is that really all they want is just to feel safe. And so comfortable feels safe to me, at least. So that's the outfit. Now I usually do honorable mentions at this point in the video, but the 6s did not respond to my Reddit question. So I didn't get any suggestions for the type 6, so this one was all me. And I'm a little surprised by that because there's so many Taylor Swift songs that can relate to the 6 just from my own research. But anyway, no honorable mentions today. 6s out there, if you do have anything you'd like to add or anything that you think is interesting, songs, details about the type 6, please comment on this video. Let us know. We always love to learn more about you and who you are. That is all for today's video. So I will see you all next week for the type 7. I love you. Mwah.